Welcome back. Let's get into Aries. Right. So go into slideshow mode. Things are getting real. Okay, so astronomical astrology. The first constellation we are going to go over is Aries. So let's get into it. Actually, I gotta exit this already because I gotta show you the real stuff. Okay, so off bat, it's going to be interesting with Aries energy because if we're following our rule of actually let's get the sun in alignment with this first little star here. So back it up. Okay. So around the 19th or 20th of April is when the sun moves into Aries. But here's the interesting part. The sun, so this is Aries right over here. These are the stars in Aries. But if you look down here, oh shit, here's a star in Pisces that if you follow up to the sun's ecliptic path, it hits about right here, which is whole ass in Aries. What does that mean? That means that, holy shit, cusps exist. So if somebody was born on the 19th of, I was gonna say February. No, April. The 19th of April, are they Aries or are they Pisces? Are they early degrees Aries or late degree Pisces? The answer is they are both. Okay, they are both. And it's completely up to them if they want to claim both energies or whatever. But the sun officially is not out of Pisces until it crosses this Alrisha threshold. So I would say about probably the 22nd of April would be the first official Aries. Okay. So there's that. Enjoy that. All right, but let's bring it back to astronomical astrology. That was you know what I'm saying. Let's bring it back to the slideshow. Cool. It's gonna be really fun, guys. You excited? I'm excited. Okay. So Aries constellation, the major stars in Aries, and by major stars, if I included a star in here, that means it's below 5 on a magnitude scale. Okay, so remember, the lower the brightness is, the lower the magnitude here. It means that the brighter the star is. So little quiz time, little quiz to make sure our comprehension skills are where they need to be. And I know I wrote 420 here to 513, give or take, you know, a day, give or take a few hours to 419. But anyway, all right, so little quiz time. Which of these stars is the brightest? Is it Gamma Arcturus at 0 degrees Aries? Is it Shertan at 1 degrees? Is it 5 degrees Hamal? 15 degrees 41 Arcturus? I don't even know if I'm saying these right, but let's just go, right? And then 17 degrees Epsilon Arcturus. The brightest star would be at 5 degrees. 2.17 is the brightest of this little grouping here. So the reason, again, I only included these stars for Aries in particular. So these are star alignments within Aries. It doesn't mean that there's not other stars. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that in the Aries constellation, these are the biggest, brightest main stars. You're obviously going to see some smaller ones right here, like HD 15524, which has a magnitude of 5.97. Did I include it? No. Why? Because the magnitude is not that bright, so I'm just not including it because it doesn't feel correct to do so. But you know, if don't get me wrong, if you want to go through and you're like, okay, anything below a 10 is bright enough for me, great. Map out each individual one as far as, you know what I mean, as far as star alignments go. That's up to you. Enjoy that. Have fun, you know, enjoy that. Truly. That does sound like a good time. All right. So, whereas if you look at Shertan, I believe it is in alignment with Mathala. which these, you know, the names of these stars are something else. So are they actually, I'm not really sure. I'm going to go over to Aries. I'm going to double check. Okay, we have Moth Ala and Gamma Aritis at the same degree at 0 degrees. Sheraton's actually at 1 degree, which is like, you know, you could almost say it's at the same degree, but technically they are 1 degree different. And I guess if I do zoom in, I do see that Moth Ala is a little bit behind Sheraton here. So that's why I counted it as that, I guess. But again, are these precise measurements? Not especially. Are they pretty fucking close? Yes, they are. So again, you know, take it with a grain of salt. If you want to say that these two are in alignment, I'm not going to stop you. So, and again, like, I do think that there is a correlation of energy if they're like directly at the same degree, but who's to say that it's not like conjunctions, right? Where it could be the degrees within 5, or the stars within 5 degrees of it also play a role. I could absolutely see that too. That just sounds like a lot right now. All right, let's get back into Aries. Okay, Aries constellation. So you'll see Aries mapped out here. That's officially what, you know, astronomers classify as the Aries constellation, everything within this little range. Okay. All right, so Aries mythology. This is gonna be a lot of reading of me to you. So, you know, read along if you would like. Aries mythology, Aries is the Latin word for ram, okay? So a lot of people end up misidentifying Aries with Ares, 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 the god of war, whereas Aries is literally the golden ram. All right, so they are different things, but they do have some overlaps as well. All right, story of Aries and the golden ram. King, again, me and names, I'm gonna do my best. King A, we're just gonna call him King A, was married King A married a nymph named Nephele. They had 2 children together, Prixus and Hele. King A eventually divorced her and fell in love with the mortal Ino. Ino then became Phrixus and Hele's stepmother, and an evil stepmother at that. Ino was incredibly jealous of the children. Why? Nobody really knows, but again, evil bitches be evil bitches. There's a lot of these people, a lot of these stories in mythology. Like, we would like to think that our forefathers and our current, or foremothers and our current, you know, people would be better people than the past. No, this is just human nature at its worst, realistically. That is what a lot of our mythology is based on, because that's our actual history of humanity. All right, because of her jealousy, she bribed men who went to talk. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah. So because of her jealousy, she bribed some men who went to go talk to the oracle, and they into telling the king A that his children needed to be sacrificed to the gods. So basically, she convinced dudes to go talk to the oracle and tell, like, make the king think that his children needs to be sacrificed, which was not the case at all. This lady's just crazy. I know, it's just crazy. So King A believed this lie and was going to go through with the sacrifice. And I mean, which can get deeper into human sacrifice cults. There is a lot of occultism within mythology. They're very much hand in hand. So we're gonna get into a lot of really interesting things. But anyway, so yeah, human sacrifice, that was like a common thing amongst people. I guess it kind of still is low key, but a lot of people don't really see it like that. But anyway, so before the children were sacrificed, though, their actual mom sent the golden ram to come save them, because she obviously was a nymph, so she had a little bit more powers than just like an average mortal woman. All right, so during the long journey, Hele lost grip, though, the daughter, and she fell to her death. Phrixus, the brother, upon being saved by the golden ram, then ended up sacrificing the ram to the gods, to Zeus. So I mean, you know, you can feel about that however you want to feel. The like actual blood ritual sacrifice was pretty common in order to appease gods or thank gods or whatever. But again, if gods are asking for physical sacrifices. I think that's a little crazy personally, but you know, everybody's got their own opinions. All right, so the golden ram was created by Poseidon, actually, who was Zeus's brother, and the ram's golden fleece became one of the most prized possessions on Earth. The fleece eventually ended up in the possession of a different king, King Aeetes, who placed it within the Aries god of war sacred grove. So that's kind of confusing. So the fleece, the golden fleece of the ram, and Aries means ram in Greek, or I'm sorry, in Latin, I believe it was. The golden fleece ended up being placed in Aries god of war sacred grove. And so Aries actually was the son of Zeus. So that is where a little bit of the overlap does come in with this energy. All right. So with all of every single archetype, I'm sorry, every single constellation has mythology associated with it. Most of them anyway. Some of them are just like little brief stories. But most of them have some pretty deep context to them. So we also have to then look at the astrological interpretations, because we're combining all of it. We're looking at the astronomy, the astrology, and the mythology to combine it all into one to create astronomical astrology. All right, so astrological interpretations of Aries: courage, savior complex, bravery, self-sacrifice or sacrifice by others. And I got all of these astrological interpretations from the mythological stories that are associated with them. So for a lot of them, you might have more ideas of what this energy might be outside of the mythological stories, which is great. And like, yeah, feel free to apply those. But this system in particular, I did try to keep it a little bit more toward just the interpretations based off the mythology, just so you know. All right, so hero vibes: withstanding long journeys, valuable, may not be aware of your worth until after your death. So that could be like maybe an artist, or like somebody that had some really good ideas, but just, you know, wasn't that valued. Used by other people for power, may face jealousy from others, very headstrong. The ram represents power. I think I copied and pasted this from, if you click on the ram, it'll bring you to where I brought it from, but the ram represents the power to penetrate, overcome, and achieve. It reflects the assertion of strength in creative ways to achieve a breakthrough. It is also associated with sacrifice. The ram serves as an icon for action, the fifth element of heroism. I thought that was interesting. Again, often conflated with Aries, god of war, but the Aries symbol is more so the ram than the god of war. But Aries, god of war, has associations with Mars, and Mars has associations with Aries. So that's again, or like Aries constellation. So again, that kind of all gets a little bit conflated with each other. So how would you look at this on somebody's actual chart? All right, let's get out of here. So if somebody has Aries energy of any sort, no matter where their placement is, for this example, let's just bring the sun out maybe by Hamal a little bit here, maybe like one day back. All right, so gosh. Yeah, close enough. All right, so to Hamal, again, we would go over to Aries, see if Hamal. All right, this does have, so if my sun was at 5 degrees Aries, it would be in alignment with Hamal, but then also beta trianguli. So if somebody had a 5 degrees Aries sun, what I would do is I would go over, I mean, if it's a newer client, I would go over all of the mythology with them to give them the context, but then their sun placement then would have a lot of this energy. Even if it says 6, 7, 8 degrees, it doesn't really matter if you're like the base archetype energy. So that Aries sun person, they might have a savior complex or be more prone or more primed for that energy, or they might have a hero complex, or they might be able to withstand really long journeys. Like they might be really good at traveling, or really good at, you know, a little bit the chaos that can come with that. They may feel used by others for their power or their energy or their abilities or something like that. They can be very headstrong individuals. So that is how I would go to interpret that placement. Again, we also had a triangulum. So I would also, we'll get into what the other ones mean, but I would also, in addition to that, then go into the triangulum interpretations. So I would give them their interpretation for Aries energy, but then bonus energy would just be this triangulum energy to put onto their sun placement because of the star alignments. All right, hopefully that makes sense. We'll obviously go into more examples as we go through, but that is Aries at its base. All right, so the next constellation we have here is Phoenix, actually. So does this align with Aries? It does. It doesn't even look like it does, but if you go over here, let's see, Phoenix. So this PSI Phaenosis, if you follow it, it's at about this line. Yeah, so it's about in alignment with the beginning of Aries here. So it's interesting. Yeah, 0 degrees is the only star alignment here. So this would be in alignment with Aries and Pisces then. So this is Phoenix energy, which is really interesting because a lot of people associate Phoenix energy with Scorpio, but realistically, in astronomical astrology, it's aligned with Aries and Pisces. So fascinating, right? All right, so Phoenix mythology. So if somebody had a 0 degrees Aries placement, you could also give this energy to them as well. So the mythology here is sacred firebird across many mythologies, including Greek, Persian, Arabic, Egyptian, Roman, Turkish, Indian, Chinese, and more. So when I see, I don't know about you, but when I see mythology from various cultures that goes, cross-cultural, where they're all like, yeah, the firebird, I'm more prone to be like, yeah, that's probably a real thing that they were actually seeing and experiencing, right? Because how would they all have the same interpretation of that? So a very fascinating energy here. Phoenix represents an eagle-like bird with purple, red, and gold feathers with a scarlet and golden tail. Lives for 500 years. At the end of its lifespan, it builds a nest using incense, cinnamon bark, and sets it on fire. So this bird literally chooses, pungent sticks and uses them as incense and sets it on fire. And according to the legend, a new bird would be born from those ashes. I believe it means that it sets it on fire with itself inside the nest, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe you have more information there. So interpretations, if somebody had 0 degrees alignment in Aries here, is this energy is very transformational energy. And if you think about it, like, yeah, 0 degrees of anything is very transformational energy. It's newer energy to you. It's asking you to dive in, deep, like, okay, we got to figure this energy out. Or even if it is the later degrees of Pisces for somebody, like ends and beginnings have some very similar energy to them, even though they're different. So Phoenix astrological interpretations, themes of themes of death and rebirth, long lifespan. So these people in particular, if you have like a 0 degrees Aries placement, you might be like, yeah, I'm gonna live till I'm 150. These people could be people with very long lifespans. Could be also seen as having a lot of past lives, right? Like having longevity throughout life spans as well, or very healthy within life. Awareness of powerful natural remedies and herbs. So these people might be the herbalists, they might be the healers, very ceremonial in the things that they do. Continuing life after death. So that can look, that can be in the spiritual, that can be like part of them dies, but one part of them keeps going, or they may have to kill certain parts of themselves for a rebirth type thing. And even if they die in some sense, they find a way to come back to life. So whether that be physically or mentally or emotionally or whatever, we can apply this energy there. All right, so the next constellation we have then is Cassiopeia. So there's only one a star that is aligned with Aries. It's at 1 degrees Aries. So if somebody has 1 degrees Aries, you could apply this energy to them, or if you do. So Cassiopeia, she's kind of a bitch, not gonna lie. I'm gonna just, warn you right there. So Queen of, which is like, if you've ever met an Aries, like, it's not wrong. So let me pour some water 1 second here. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting, like you could meet a 0 degrees Aries and they might be like, oh, life, death, rebirth. And then you meet a 1 degrees Aries and they're like, I'm a bitch. And it's like, damn, you are actually very observant of you. But okay, anyway. So Cassiopeia mythology. All right. So the seated queen, wife of Cetus. And for all of these, if you have the course, you can like go ahead and click on that and it'll bring you over to Cephas. But let's go. Oh shit, what'd I do? Ah, crap. That's not what I want to do. Wrong Cephas. Oh boy, we gotta go all the way back to Aries. Okay, that's fine. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, cool. So the seated queen, that's, her nickname, chained to her throne in the sky as a punishment. Because again, she's a fucking bitch. Excuse me. Language. All right. She extremely boastful and vain. She was condemned to circle the celestial pole forever. So what does that mean? I think that's kind of interesting. So if you look over here, this is the celestial pole up here. You'll see Ursa Minor. Polaris right now is our North Star. The North Star does change over time. It used to be in Draco. In a few hundred years, it'll be in Lyra, which is where's Vega and Lyra. So everything changes. So just because something's the same today. Anyway, so Cassiopeia is seen as like, what was it? What was the saying? Condemned to circle the celestial pole forever. So she's like up there and just, circles around Polaris essentially, which is why they say that. Boasted that her daughter Andromeda, who is another constellation pretty close to her, was more beautiful than the Nereids, the sea nymphs and the mermaids. Which, if you're gonna make a bold claim. Anyway, so Poseidon, who was married to the sea nymph Amphitrite, I don't know, punished Queen Cassiopeia for bragging about her daughter's beauty and comparing her to the nymphs by sending Cetus to destroy the coastline and the shores of their kingdom. So basically, she was like, yeah, my daughter's more beautiful than the sea nymphs. And Poseidon was like, very funny. Here's Cetus. He's going to destroy everything that you and your husband have built. Sucks to suck. Don't be a bitch. And so then to appease the gods, Cassiopeia and her husband, King Cepheus, sacrificed their daughter to Cetus by chaining her naked to a rock. I mean, everybody's got ways they're dealing with things, but I would just like to say that I don't really think that was the best way to deal with it. I think there's likely better ways to handle that, but Cassiopeia be Cassiopeiaing. All right, so astrological impacts. If somebody has 1 degree Aries, they might be a queen or mother energy, or they might be dealing with a mother figure that is like that. So that's where the interpretations kind of come into of importance, right? Like, is that of them or is that energy that they are dealing with? That is definitely something that you'll want to talk over with your client or with yourself or whatever to determine where this energy might be in your life. So very boastful, very prideful, very arrogant, vain, may sacrifice children for personal gain in some type of way. This could also be potentially interpreted as abortion. I don't necessarily think abortion is like human sacrifice or anything, but there are certain cults who literally have people abort fetuses to get into their cults and like to be in their death cult. It's a thing. I'm not even, it's a lot. Life be life and people be people and cults be culting. So there's that. So daughter or children may want or need to break free from their harmful mother. And then this should not be in there. Influences Taurus. I'm going to get rid of that because that is the wrong one. Okay, cool, beautiful. Love that for us. All right, so that's Cassiopeia. Questions, thoughts, concerns. Doesn't really matter because we're moving on. All right, so like I was saying, Pisces does overlap with Aries up until 3 degrees with Alrisha. So we also have to interpret for this. So, you know, Pisces, Aries overlap from 0 to 3 degrees. Again, not everybody's going to have star alignments to Pisces. So I would, if somebody has like a 0, 1, 2 degree Aries and they like claim Aries and don't really feel Pisces, that might make sense. Whereas like a 3 degree person might be like, no, I feel Pisces because they have an alignment with a star to Pisces. All right, so Pisces mythology. There's a lot of Pisces mythology, actually. So Babylonian origins, this was just a pair of fish connected by a cord. All right, in Roman mythology, we see Venus and Cupid tied themselves together with a rope. Venus was Cupid's mom, by the way. So tied themselves together with a rope and transformed into fish to escape a monster Typhon, a monster with 100 dragon heads with fiery eyes, very destructive. Very destructive monster. And then Greek mythology, it's Aphrodite's and Eros, the Venus and Cupid equivalent. Again, mom and son jumped into the water to escape Typhon, and the two different fish came to help them and carried them on their backs to safety. I also unfortunately had the download that if you look into Aphrodite mythology when it comes to Eros, like it gets a little messy when it comes to Psyche because essentially Aphrodite got a little jelly that she was prettier and then Eros like wanted her. So there's a little bit of like boy mom things, archetypes happening here, which I don't love. But that's potentially a thing. All right. So Pisces astrological interpretation. So these people connect very deeply with others. They may need to do a lot of cord cuttings with people they've emotionally bonded with. This could be from present life, past life, doesn't matter. Motherly love, unconditional love, very transformational energy, very protective energy, may need to escape predators or harsh conditions. So that could be a lot of things. That could be like sexual predators, that could be harsh conditions like war, that could be harsh conditions like poverty, or like trafficking, or really anything. And able to maneuver within emotional situations. All right, so if you see somebody with a 3 degrees Aries, you can apply the Aries archetype, but also then this Pisces archetype too. All right, next up, we have Andromeda. Remember, Andromeda is the daughter of Cassiopeia. So as we go through, you're going to be like, oh, and then there's Cetus down here, which was like the monster that Poseidon was trying to, or that's sent down to destroy them, right? And they sacrificed Andromeda. So Cassiopeia, the mom, King Cephas, the dad, Andromeda, the daughter, sacrificed her to Cetus. So everything, again, there's a whole story that starts to unwind, unfurl. I don't know the words I'm looking for. Is unfurl even a word? I'll look it up later. Okay, but anyway, you'll start to see like, oh, everything correlates. There's a lot happening. So 3 degrees is also an Andromeda degree within the Aries constellation. So Andromeda was a beautiful princess. Her mother, Cassiopeia, dumbass bitch, bragged about her beauty and said she was more beautiful, which angered the sea nymphs, not happy campers. So some of these, as we go through, there may be like Pisces in multiple, or like Andromeda in multiple zodiac signs. So I will be going over the mythology and interpretations more than once, most likely, for a lot of them overlap. But anyway, so sacrificed by her parents, King Cephas and Queen Cassiopeia, to Cetus to appease Poseidon, chained to a rock naked for sacrifice, as we see in this beautiful visualization here. Here's the sea monster Cetus down here. Was saved by Perseus, this guy, who is the same guy who killed Medusa. Eventually, she married Perseus and created children with him. A man was named Phineas, though, was also promised Andromeda, so Perseus had to fucking kill him. It's not funny, but like kind of. So had to kill him and his friends at their wedding. So Phineas rolled up to Andromeda and Perseus's wedding, and what did Perseus have to do? Obviously, he had to kill Phineas and all his homies. He was like, "Nah, you're coming to my wedding. You're all dead now. Sucks to suck. Andromeda is mine." So there's that. It's fun stories. All right, so Andromeda astrological interpretations. These people with 3 degrees Aries, they may have issues with their parents. Oh, shocker. You know, if your parents are sacrificing you, you're probably gonna have a little bit of a problem with them. Let's see, your mother, or this could be like mother, stepmother, like significant or mother-in-law, anybody, mother figure, maybe boastful, wanting or needing saving at some point in your life. Princess energy, may have to pay for parent shortcomings or debts, you know, like something that they did, like you might have to end up paying for because they were irresponsible or they didn't do something right. So near-death experiences, feeling or being naked or exposed. So this could be like if you had past trauma or like past alignment with this traumatic energy of being like chained naked to a rock, you may have like interesting exhibitionist type, you know, subconsciously things for being naked or like wanting to be seen naked or like strippers or anything like that. Or I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying it might be, you know, that's where the underlying energy might be. Or just like feeling exposed but not wanting that. So that could be like you know, like your nudes being leaked or like something like that. Men falling in love with somebody's naked body versus like them as a whole. So 3 degrees Aries people might deal with that. They might deal with, oh, they just want me because I look good naked, not because they actually like love and care about me, right? And then maybe this person might also have men or people fighting over you as a love interest, or you might deal with that at some point in your life, or if the person has energy there. All right, Triangulum. So Triangulum is probably the closest constellation to Aries outside of the zodiac constellations here. So if somebody has star alignments or planetary alignments, so you know, just this, like if the sun's in Aries, that's great, but it can also be Venus, Mercury, Mars, anything that's in Aries can have different alignments to these stars. So if something is at 7 degrees Aries, it would also be in alignment with Triangulum. All right, so impacts Aries from 0 to 7 degrees. All right, triangular mythology. Greeks called this constellation Deltoton. This is the Nile Delta in Egypt. All right, so Deltaton, which has ties to the Nile Delta in Egypt. Other interpretations is that Triangulum was actually the island of Sicily or Sicilia, which was an early name for this constellation, which is interesting. So Ceres, represented in astrology as an asteroid, was the patron goddess of Sicily and begged Zeus to put the island in the sky. So we'll definitely be talking more about Ceres when in the the full astrology course when we talk about asteroids. All right. So triangulum. Triangles have a significant occult meaning. This is associated with Freemasonry, Illuminati, Eye of Horus, Eye of Ra. They use this symbolism to tap into ancient Egyptian magic and rituals. Rituals gain power over time the more they are performed. So, for example, if let's see. So if there was a group or a coven or whoever like doing a ritual together, they can also tap into any time in the past or the future because time isn't real, it's just energy. They can tap into anybody else who has done that same ritual in the same order from any time to gain more energy to put into it. So there's that. Many ancient Egyptian rituals revolved around death and death magic. And for example, there's a Jay-Z lyric saying, "Until we all got triangles on our walls." And I mean, some people are gonna be like, Yeah, you can't really say that about like pop culture stuff, but a lot of them have double meanings. They know exactly what they're talking about. A lot of them use plausible deniability to be like, well, I meant this. It's like, yeah, maybe. So they use that a lot. It's like, well, they could have been this. It's like, yeah, but it wasn't, but whatever. So triangle symbolism can also mean change and difference, transformation, journey of the soul, transition from one state of being to another, growth and evolution, and also three sides, threes equals communication or things of the mind within numerology. There, there's a lot of things happening here. Think what you want, believe what you want. These are just thoughts. Thoughts that were in my brain that are now maybe in yours. All right. So triangulum astrological interpretations, then connection to Ceres energy, motherly or fertility energy. Probably interested in the occult. So if you had, I think it was 0, 5, or 7 degrees Aries, you might have like more interest in the occult, or maybe you were even born into an occult or occult family. There's a lot of, Mason lines and a lot of other things. Mason lines. God damn it. Okay. So, life themes of growth and evolution, powerful creators through speech, especially if their planet Mercury is at 0, 5, or 7 degrees. Very powerful creators through what they say and what they think, and likely has an ancient soul or very many past lives. All right. And in this one, you'll see Musca here. Musca actually moved, which I found interesting, to Crux, which is the Southern Cross. And I'm like, wonder why. Anyway, so there's that. So Cetus. Cetus is a really big constellation. You'll see it below Aries here and Pisces here. So Cetus, really big sea monster. We already know a little bit about him from our discussion of Andromeda and her mother Cassiopeia. So if somebody has any of these 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or 16 degrees in Aries, they have a star alignment with Cetus. For example, though, if somebody has like 2 degrees Aries, I wouldn't necessarily count their Cetus energy. If somebody has like even, 14 or 15 degrees Aries, I probably wouldn't count that either. It's obviously up to you and your client. If you want to count it, if you feel like, or if you know them and you're like, oh, this person absolutely needs to see this message, then yeah, include it, but just go off of your own intuition. So Cetus here, lovely little guy. He's really terrifying actually. So depicted as a sea monster, whale, or dragonfish created by Poseidon to punish humans. Like that was his whole deal. Cetus was killed by Perseus, who we'll talk about later, the same dude who killed Medusa while he was saving Princess Andromeda. Love that for them, little love birds. Okay, so King Cepheus sacrificed his daughter Andromeda to Cetus to appease Poseidon. The head of Cetus is in alignment with Aries. That might be significant to some of you. It might not be to others of you. I don't know. Just thought I'd include it. Fourth largest constellation in the sky, so a very large constellation, dates back to the Sumerians and Babylonians, actually, of the 2nd and 3rd millennia BC, who associated it with their mythological dragon Tiamat. So might be a dragonfish, might be a sea monster, might be a whale, might be all of them. Depends on the timeline, probably. Okay, what else we have here? All right, so Cetus, astrological interpretations, killer instinct. So again, Aries at any of those degrees. And if you know Aries, you know they're ready to fuck a bitch up at pretty much any moment. So killer instinct, think killer whales. Like those are not peaceful creatures. Monster-like demeanor, very rageful, hungry for blood and violence, headstrong, havoc and violent chaos, just, and influenced by others or does others' will naturally. So I don't really think Cetus was out here like making his own choices, right? He was created by Poseidon for a specific purpose to like hurt and harm humanity, or if they disobeyed him. Okay, so it's not like Cetus is out here like, I'm destroying everything on my own volition. I don't even know if Cetus thinks for himself, it's just like this very raw rage, gore, violent energy that exists as a punishment. All right. So Eridanus. So this is a large constellation as well. It impacts Taurus, Aries, Pisces, and may even Aquarius a little bit. I don't really remember. But if somebody has 1 degrees, 13 degrees, 15, 16, 17, 20, or 21 degrees Aries energy in their natal chart, they also have alignments to Eridanus. I'm not sure. Eridanus, let's call it. All right, so the best known myth associated with this is the rise and the fall of Phaeton, son of Helios, the sun god. 1 second, let me grab some water. Okay. Helios's task as a god was to take the reins of a chariot led by white horses and traverse the heavens above the earth. Phaeton, encouraged by his sisters, begged. It reminds me of Plankton in SpongeBob. It's not really, but anyway. So encouraged by his sisters, begged his father for the opportunity to drive the chariot. Like saw his dad doing it every day. He was like, I want to do that too, Dad. Please, 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 please. And Helios was like, no. Like, this is a big deal. This is a big responsibility. I'm not just gonna like let you do this. Like, you're not strong enough, my guy. And so, but one day, Helios gave in and gave Phaeton, he let Phaeton take the reins. When Phaeton flew into the sky with a chariot, he drove the chariot erratically, nearly freezing and burning the Earth's surface. Not great, my guy, not great. Zeus was not amused by Phaeton's adventure and struck him down with a bolt of lightning. He's like, that's not going to work for me or the rest of humanity. You're done. Phaeton fell off the chariot and met his end as he tumbled into the sacred river Eridanus. I really want to know how to say it. The ancient Greeks believed that the constellation represented the path that Phaeton traveled. So it can also mean the river flowing from the waters of Aquarius also. So that's interesting. Sanskrit, unsure how to say that word, but meaning current or course of the river. Ocean stream, recognized across ancient cultures, Greece, Babylonians, Egyptians, and in different cultures in Asia, it was also recognized. So pretty big deal there. Okay, astrological interpretations. Again, a lot of different Aries alignments to this energy based on how many stars there are and how large it is. So if somebody has star alignments to Eridanus, they might be pretty erratic or overconfident, not really being able to take a direct path. They may feel like they have to prove themselves to an authority or a parent figure, or they might, feel like their parent might have a really big role and they might be like, oh, I want to try, but they, haven't really earned it yet or don't know how. A need to go with the flow can also be important for these people. Can flow fast or slow depending on the energy put into it. So like think about how fast a river flows when there's a storm, more energy versus when there's no rain. Like it might be going really slow, less energy. So almost like adaptable to the conditions though too. And then waters or emotions, we often link that the word I'm looking for. Element to can be tranquil, flooded, or fast flowing, again, depending on conditions. So it really depends with these people. The energy around them is going to depend on it's going to influence their flow quite significantly. And yeah, like down here, you can see how long this constellation actually is. All right. Perseus influences Aries from 13 degrees to 21 degrees. So if we remember, Perseus is the guy that saved Andromeda from Cetus after her parents, King Cetus and Queen Cassiopeia, decided to chain her naked to a rock. All right, so we have 13, 15, 16, 18, 19, and 20. If somebody has any of those Aries placements, this energy would influence them. All right, this is a long story, but we're going to get into it. Okay, so Perseus was a demigod. He was half god and half mortal. this. Son of Zeus and the mortal Danae. When he was a baby, his grandfather, let's just call him a crisis because that sounds fun. A crisis put him and his mom into the sea in a chest because of a prophecy that Perseus would one day kill him. There's a lot of prophecies in mythology of, oh, your son or your daughter will one day like grow to be more powerful than you. So we see a lot of these like, oh, I'm just gonna put them into the sea and like, or I'm gonna kill them, or I'm gonna do this to try to make the prophecy not come true. Anyway, so Perseus ended up on King Polydectes' land and was raised there. Eventually, the king knew of his demigod status and ordered him to go fetch the head of Medusa, the Gorgon's sister. Wild task, wild task. This is a challenging task, even for the demigods. So Perseus sought out the help of his half-sister, Athena. They share a dad in Zeus. And then his half-brother, Hermes. I think same thing. I think Zeus is Hermes' dad as well. I could be wrong. But anyway, so Athena gave Perseus a sword and a reflective shield. Hermes gave Perseus winged sandals so that he could fly. To find Medusa, Perseus spoke with the Graea, not quite sure, who were sea hags and sea witches. So we have like sea nymphs. They're the hotties, they're the baddies, and then we have the sea hags and the sea witches, who it's like you got some kelp in your teeth, you know what I mean? So they're not cute. All right, so the Graea were gray-haired from birth and shared just one detachable eye and tooth between the three of them. I do think that this was depicted in Disney's Hercules, if you watch that, where they like share an eye, each person, but they also shared a tooth. So Perseus stole the eye and the tooth until they told him where Medusa was hiding, because they didn't want to give her up. They were like, no, we're all weirdos over here. We're not going to give her up. But then Perseus was like, no, sorry, I have to do this. So to kill Medusa, Perseus found her while she was asleep and used a mirror to not look directly at her, or he would have been turned to stone. I believe he did this by cutting off her head. After killing Medusa, Perseus saves Princess Andromeda from Cetus and Poseidon. Like literally, I mean, it doesn't even make sense, but literally on his way home, he's like, oh, a princess that needs saving, and like kind of just swooped in and did that. So Perseus then married Andromeda. When Perseus returned with the head of Medusa, he turned King Polydectes to stone as punishment for being evil and forcing him on the journey, because he didn't want to do it. He didn't even really want to kill Medusa like that. He just like, that king was like, no, you got to go do this. So he was like, I guess. So Perseus did eventually accidentally end up killing his own grandfather. It's not funny. A crisis, which the prophecy foretold. So he ended up killing him. It was like, what had happened? He killed him by like a frisbee. He accidentally killed him with a frisbee. It was an accident. He like legitimately did not mean to. All right, so Perseus, astrological interpretations, and then one of my favorite memes: ain't no way in hell that Perseus snuck up on Medusa with them fangs clapping, because you get it. All right, so because that ass though, Perseus is down with the thickness. All right. So if you have Perseus alignments, your parents may have unequal standing in society. So for example, like your mom might be a doctor and your dad might be a telemarketer, right? Or your dad might be chief of police, whereas your mom stays at home, right? So there's just unequal standings in society of some sort. So issues with parents or grandparents or family legacy in general, that can come out in a lot of different ways. I'm not exactly sure. Likely a traumatic childhood. Might even have been like sent away to live with other people or was adopted or something like that. May only be raised by mother or an absent father. So like maybe their father wasn't in the picture and only their mom raised them. Being used for power, energy, capabilities without reward. Good relationships with siblings, there for each other when you need them, which is great. May need siblings help in certain situations. Unfair life challenges that you just didn't sign up for. Very, very persuasive energy. or at least, making situations go in their favor. Fast learner, listens to advice or strategy from others. Savior complex, may feel the need to save others from harm and danger. Can be honorable, but it can also end up being very self-sacrificing. Vengeful, but mainly with good reason or for karmic impact. Attracted to beautiful people, very hero energy, will physically fight if they have to, and very determined energy. So I think that people often look at Perseus as like, because a lot of women in particular kind of hold Medusa to a symbol of like rape victim as or sexual assault victim, and then with Perseus killing her, it doesn't look very good for Perseus, right? But I like from the vibes I get, I'm getting goosebumps too, because I'm kind of just like feeling like Perseus is a better person or than he's been given credit for, and obviously, or like amongst women, because I think that most men do hold the Perseus to like, oh wow, Perseus, whereas women might be like, well, you killed Medusa, so you're a piece of shit. But it's like, he wasn't actually, and he didn't even really want to do it. He was forced to do it because of the king. So take that for what it's worth. All right. This constellation Fornax, very interesting constellation, impacts Aries from 14 degrees to 18 degrees. So if somebody has 14 degrees or 18 degrees, and some of the stars, some of them don't have names. So this, for example, Gaia DR2 5059 ... It's usually because it has like 4 or 5 or to 8 other numbers here. But the front ones are the ones that will help you identify where they're at. What else do I want to say about that? Nothing. Cool. Awesome. All right. So Fornax, there's actually no mythology associated with Fornax. I do think it is a crazy constellation though. So originally it was called Fornax Chemica and Apparatus Chemicus. So the imagery here is a small fuel heater used for chemical experiments and a furnace. So if you know much about mythology and the sky, like there's literally different constellations created for different things. So it's like, okay, what are they experimenting on over here? What are they doing? What kind of chemical experiments? What do they need heated? Why do they need a fuel source? Like, what's going on? So that is definitely something to consider the more you want to get into mythology, aka alien history, things to think about. But astrologically, Fornax, so if somebody has 14 or 18 degrees Aries, they might be really into science. They might also be experimented on or participate in studies of some sort, whether by choice or not. Unfortunately, a lot of us have been involved in experiments that we don't know about, and that's just part of the unethical structure of our current society. These people can be very, very fiery in nature and may create energy for another purpose. I don't know what I mean by that, but maybe you do. Awesome. All right, this is just a breakdown of all of the stars and degrees in Aries. So you'll get a whole you'll get the whole Google Doc with all of these, but I did include it in here just for review. So for example, if somebody has a planet at 13 degrees Aries, they have alignments with Eridanus, Cetus, and Perseus, but 3 Cetus ones. So you would read 13 degrees, you would give them the Aries energy. You would also read to them the Eridanus or whatever interpretations, Cetus interpretations, and Perseus interpretations for that 13 degree, whether that's their sun, whether that's Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, whatever it might be. And that is how you would interpret for that. So that's Aries. Yeah. Next up, we got Taurus, but that is Aries for now. Hopefully this gives you a much better look into Aries and what all of the other aligned energies are here. Very interesting stuff. But again, no real associations with Aries, Ares, the god of war, outside of Aries' association with Mars and outside of the golden fleece of Aries the ram being held in Aries the god, his little garden or whatever it was. Okay, that is Aries. We'll come back and do Taurus next.